The council meeting for June 25th to order, please. If you will rise and join me for the invocation of pledge. Father God, thank you for being with us tonight. As always, please protect all of the residents of Baldwin, protect our first responders, and be with us this evening as we do the work on behalf of the citizens. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are some folks who've come in since I picked up the list of folks who wanted to speak. Is there anybody who wanted to speak who's not on the list? James, I'll let James, I can add you.
Thank you.
Debbie?
And Andrea.
And we've had some mail and remarks as well.
We'd like you know.
Yes. Okay.
Mayor, before we begin with the consent agenda, I'd like to make a couple of motions. The first motion I'd like to make is for, to add discussion with Banks County commissioners who are graced us with their presence tonight, to have a discussion about water and, water quality. Water delivery. So I'd like to make that motion.
Do we have a second? For the second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We can add that under new business, so item 8.
And Mayor, I'd like to make one more motion. I'd like to make a motion to allow, our citizen Joe Elam to be able to speak for 5 minutes.
You made a motion, is there a second? Yes. Okay, motion fails for lack of second. All right, the first item on the agenda is our consent agenda, approval of minutes, council meeting 6/9/2025. Did everybody have an opportunity to read them?
Yes.
Any comments, questions, concerns? No? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And one abstention because Councilwoman Newman was not here. All right, so motion carries 3-1. Well, 3 and 1 abstention. Public comments. We have a list of folks who have wanted to address the city. I have the list up here. If there's anybody else who came in late, who would like, we can add you at the end. Mr. Elam, you're first on the list. You have 3 minutes.
All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to y'all. I did ask to be added to the agenda. Apparently, I asked too late, and even though this is an odd meeting, in fact, it's 3 days later than normal. The Friday makes sense when it comes up on Monday, but so be it. So the mayor, I'm going to repeat some that I did last, and I'm going to hammer on some others. The mayor has presented a budget which is not based on any facts of the city's financial position. I've said that 1,000 times. I'll say that until some documents are provided. Council members yourselves have acknowledged y'all have not received those documents. The city has no statements of fund balances. The mayor's proposed budget, this is important right here. The mayor's proposed budget is not even a balanced budget. The state actually does require that y'all pass a balanced budget. The document that I've been presented, the document I just received from an open records request, we don't have a copy of the document you're looking at, so I have to assume the one that I received is the document you're going to vote on tonight. It is a deficit budget. It's not balanced. That's important. Current documents show a $434,582. I won't get into the cents deficit in the general. The mayor's proposed budget represents a $1,538,000 and some change in property taxes. which is a $563,000 or 57% property tax increase from fiscal year '25. That's serious money, folks. Don't forget the fact that in the prior years, we had 9.12%, which would have been higher than that if not a Republican Governor Kemp didn't give us a refund that year. And in FY '23, they increased it 56.81%. Lots of money there. The mayor's proposed budget has a revenue line which appears to be simply made up. Remember, they said they had no fund balance. Now they've got this open transfer in amount of $220,000. Don't know where that revenue came from, but it did help make that $800,000 look like $400-something. Great work there. The mayor's proposed budget represents a drop in Banks County lost revenue. We talked about this last time. Those that are Banks County residents, this budget is going to hurt y'all in a larger percentage than those of us that are Habersham County residents. During the June 4th town hall, the CAO publicly referenced a current fund balance breakdown used internally by the city. I requested those documents and they were not provided to me. In fact, after I requested a second time with more clarity, I got a response from the city that said, at this time, the city has provided the responsive records to your request, which are no response. And you have further questions, please direct them to the Samuels firm. Samuels firm is hired by the city to protect the city, not any individual, not any of those individuals up there or any staff member. They're solely hired and paid to protect the interest of the city. So either the CAO lied at the June 4th town hall that they had these documents, or the city's response to my ORR was a lie.
Okay, you're at time, Mr. Ewell.
Go figures. Thank you. Happy to share the rest with anybody that's want to hear it.
Next up to speak is Jason Hughes. Could you state your name and your address?
Jason Hughes, 6434 Old Highway 441 North. It's a bit ironic being here today as my water is out again. First of all, I do want to thank all of those men who have been working tirelessly, not only today, during December when it went out, over Memorial Day when it went out.
Father's Day as well.
Yes. The line's been cracking. I see it all the time. It'll crack in one spot, it'll crack in another. It was blown out on Otis Brown Road this morning and gushing out at 6 o'clock this morning. While it is an inconvenience, sometimes as a first world inconvenience, my concern is what happens if my house catches on fire? And how are our fire responders going to have to shuttle water back and forth to put my house up? So my question is, what's the plan? Is this plan simply just patching? Or are we going to be able to go in and replace these lines and make them more dependable for everybody? I just want to know if there is a plan. If the plan is in place, then where in the plan are we in this? And while this is my first time speaking here, is that something that you can answer? Or is that something that I just speak and hope that I hear an answer later? So I'm unfamiliar with how this goes back and forth.
We know that there is an issue on the mountain system. We have Banks County representatives here today.
That was pretty neat too. All of a sudden, everything's coming together here.
Well, I mean, this has been a long-standing issue, and we know about this. So to address the fire mitigation, we have our fire chief here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we have vehicles that also carry water, right? So to help with fire mitigation.
Sure.
I also live in a subdivision with lines that are too small to put out fire, and that's a concern for us in Chandler Heights and Baldwin Falls Road. So many of us suffer with old lines, insufficient lines, and it's finding the money to do these expensive projects.
So it's more of a money issue right now than it
Yes.
is a willful issue of wanting to get a correction made.
Yes, and we meet with our city engineer over and over again. We have a CIP with projects that need to be done. It's finding the money to do these multi-million-dollar projects.
We're actively pursuing
We are
grants, though.
actively pursuing grants.
Are there grants, I was gonna ask, are there
Yes.
grants that we can actually write to put in?
Yeah.
And I know that's a
There
long
are.
process, and, but it needs to be placed in there, and I just hope that we're able to, we're already behind, right?
Yeah.
Well aware.
So trying to get ahead and back on schedule
Yeah.
as
Well,
best we
and
can.
that's why Banks County is here too. I
Yeah.
mean, for the folks who live in the Banks County side, who are the water, water customers of Baldwin.
Right.
We need to have a solid relationship with Banks County, right, to address some of these problems. We had, Ms. Woodmaster and I had a visit a couple of weeks ago from somebody who was on Otis Brown, and people are.
Down in the
coming.
same area, right?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and we understand that the concern.
Right.
It's finding the funding to do this.
And that's particularly, it just happened this way, but it's a good thing that this conversation is happening the same night that we're looking at this budget, because there's some very important parts to that, so
Yeah.
fantastic that you came to
Yeah,
that.
Well-
we've suffered from previous councils who said not one more penny under the ground.
Turn down grants that
Turned
they
down
actually
red
got.
money to do that.
They're like, yeah, maybe
So-
not now.
So, yes, we recognize the pain that you're in. I mean, people were calling me this morning going, I
Sure.
don't water.
Well, and like I said, hauling water from a swimming pool into the house to flush toilets gets old after a while.
Absolutely.
And not only that, while that's a small inconvenience, the fire is what,
Yes.
concerns me most. And the fire department having to work extra hard to try to shovel water back and forth to try, I'm 700 feet off the road
Yeah.
to begin with, so I know what kind of difference that would make. I figured that this was brought up, but I just, first time I just wanted to make sure that, hey, I know I'm on the Banks County side, but I wanted to make sure that there are people down there still as well wanting to make sure it's known.
Okay,
Yes.
and we're past time, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes, for being here, really appreciate it. Mike Toth.
Thank you, Council. So my name is Mike Tope, 216 Hinedale Street. I stand before you today as a concerned citizen and someone who calls Baldwin home. I'm here tonight to speak in favor of passing the proposed budget as is, even knowing it comes with challenges, including increasing millage rates. Let's be honest, no one wants increased taxes, right? No one. But we must also be honest about what's at stake if we don't act. The budget isn't just numbers on a page, it's the foundation of our city's safety, stability, and future. The heart of the budget is our commitment to maintaining a fully staffed and responsive police department, and a rated fire department. These aren't luxuries, they're lifelines. They are people who show up, they patrol our neighborhoods, they respond to fires, accidents. They're there when you call 911. Without proper funding, we risk losing the services that make it a safe place. And the practical impact on every homeowner in the city. A rated fire department directly affects what we pay in insurance. Without the rating, insurance costs will rise. Possibly, how much it falls, possibly more than the millage rate. So while the budget may cost us a little more in taxes, it protects us from paying much more in other ways. I know some may point to the years when we were able to roll back rates, and yes, we had those times, but millage rates, like the economy, they're cyclical, right? They ebb, they flow. We took advantage of the good years. Now we need to responsibly navigate the leaner ones. The consequences of not passing this budget are severe. We would be out of compliance with the city. That means losing access to critical state and federal grants, funds that help us build infrastructure, support public safety, and invest in the future. Even more alarming, we would not be able to operate essential services like the water plant. Imagine telling all the residents, you don't have water,
Right,
right?
yeah.
This is not just about dollars and cents, it's about who we are as a community. It's about the way that we're willing to make the tough choices today to ensure a better tomorrow. I urge you to pass the budget as is. Show the residents that we are committed to safety, right? The homes and the future of Baldwin. Let's lead with courage, clarity, and with heart.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is James Reese.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for allowing allowing me to speak. My name is James Weiss at 280 Little Chandler Place in Alto. If council would oblige me, I'd also kind of like to talk to the room as well. And first of all, I already know our taxes are going to go up. I'm very upset about it. I really don't like this at all. Because of that, I started to get involved. Originally, I heard on Facebook or someplace that our taxes were going to double. And so me and a whole lot of other people came out and, we found out that that's actually not the case, but that they are going to go up. And so to kind of mitigate that, I decided to kind of get involved and become part of the committee that plans out the next 5 years for the city of Baldwin. It's a great group and everybody's allowed to be part of it, and we sure hope that you are, because we want to hear what everybody has to say. One of the biggest focuses that we have is to figure out a way to increase revenue so that we can reduce the amount of taxes that we all pay. I found out that the people that help us in our community actually really care. The folks up here do a great job, and they're really working hard for all of us. While I was spending time trying to research what has happened, why are we in this particular mess, I kind of identified 2 reasons as to why we're where we're at. First of all, lack of economic growth. We really haven't had the ability to go out and try to secure large companies and great employers that could bring us high-paying jobs. So that's really the first big issue. If we're not collecting money, we don't have money that we can spend on the services that we need. Second, I've identified that the decision-making process, with the city of Baldwin has been poor on many levels over many, many years. We spent money that we didn't have because we didn't know what we had because we failed to perform audits for many years. You can't balance a budget if you have no idea what your checks and balances are. And I first found out about this when they repaved my road, and I got to know the construction manager. She had told me something that was really shocking, is that the road was supposed to cost about $230,000. However, because we lost our ability to get grants because we did not perform audits, the city of Baldwin spent $500,000 to repave my road.
Yep.
So that's $300,000 that all of us paid for because somebody dropped the ball. And that's completely unacceptable. Now, that's just one project, but how many other roads have been paved? How many other projects have there been where nobody took the time to perform what was financially responsible? So therefore, we probably lost, several $1 million, I would think. So initially, when I got involved, I really thought that it was all your problem, that that Stephanie was kind of turning us down and doing things wrong, and that all of y'all were. But I've really learned that everybody in City Hall, as well as you, have really tried very hard and really do care about us here in the community. So I know my time's up, and I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next on the list is Debbie Satterfield.
Hello, I'm Debbie Satterfield. I live at 170 Chandler Street, Baldwin, and I was told that there would be no brush pickup in 2026. So do you want everyone to burn their brush in their yard in Baldwin? Every citizen, we don't have anywhere to put it, so we're just gonna each have a fire in our yard. Is that what's gonna happen?
We were asked to cut the budget. Part of what got cut was a public works
Employee.
and.
So that one
limits-
person, that's their job, is brush?
It limits what we can do. Not only is monthly chipping eliminated, so is cleanup week.
A cleanup week. So each person can build a fire in their yard.
You just call and get a fire, permit from the.
But what's that gonna do to our environment here?
I don't like it either.
Yeah,
Do you
I mean,
guys-
why can't we have it twice a year? Didn't you buy a chipper truck, and what's gonna happen to it? You gonna sell it if we don't have brush pickup?
Storms, sell the chipper truck.
That's true.
When we have storms, we do. have-
Yeah, but you can pick up, I have a lot of storm damage from, a month ago and 2 days ago, so will that be considered in the brush pickup, the storm damage?
There won't be any. Oh, it's storm damage. I don't know.
Yes.
It will.
Yeah, so if there is a storm, we're gonna go
Ah.
out there and clean up what's out there. There will also be, the last pickup will happen in July, so the beginning of next week, so if you have.
Oh, that's the last, okay.
Okay.
Cause I called before the citywide cleanup for brush to be picked up, what was that, April or March? And they hadn't picked it up yet.
Right,
So I have a mountain of brush.
yeah, and I think that's something that needs to be announced on the water bill, the back of the water bill, right, I'm sure.
So there will be no pickup, no brush.
After July.
Unless it's a storm.
There'll be a sorely missed.
But we're gonna turn into an inferno here if each person, I have allergies, I'll just have to leave and go out of town. Thank you.
Ma'am, we were asked to cut the budget.
Specifically, you were one of the ones that were asking to cut, and we did what you asked. That.
Well, instead of monthly, couldn't you do it twice a year?
Well, the problem is that in the cuts, we had to cut a valued employee.
Oh, you had to do away with their position?
Yes,
We cut
they
multiple
lost their jobs,
employees. We-
multiple, right. They lost their jobs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, you're welcome, thank you.
Andrea Harper, you're next on the list.
Third world country here.
Good morning, or good afternoon. I'm Andrea Harper at 501 Willingham, and I'm here tonight to support the budget. I also know, and I don't know if the public knows, you haven't gotten the tax digest yet, is that correct?
Yes.
From either county.
From either county, and I know we have one of our county commissioners here, and they're just getting ready to look at the county budget.
Yes.
It's hard to pass a budget when you don't know how much money's coming in. And this budget can be amended once you get the tax digest, is that not correct?
That's correct.
I appreciate everything you do. It's a thankless job. And I remember laying awake many hours trying to figure out what department I was gonna rob so I could fund this department. It's very, very time consuming. But I'm here tonight to support the budget as is. I'm very disappointed, however, that animal control has been left out of the budget. And I'm hoping when the tax digest comes in, that there's enough money to fund animal control. And I know that there's some concerns that they don't come right out. We have one animal control department in the county. We have 279 square miles
Yeah.
and 7 cities, but we need animal control, or y'all need to tighten your animal ordinances.
Yeah.
If you're not gonna support, the shelter coming out, tighten the ordinances. I mean, I'm trapping cats myself and taking them to the shelter who have been neglected and just put out. Like I told you before, I had a dog, not mine, hit on the road, dying in my creek, and the shelter came and had to euthanize it down in my creek. I've had 2 dead deer flopping around on my driveway. They love my creek, so. And I had a dog show up on my deck that had glaucoma so bad it was blind.
Is that the one with the bulge eyes?
Yes, and they
Yeah.
came and got it. What would I do? Who would I call?
Yeah.
The police department, they've got their hands full. They're not gonna come and take care of
They're not
that.
equipped to do
And they're
that.
not equipped, and y'all are not equipped to be
Right.
in animal control, so, and I understand the animosity or concern or conflicts with the county, but we need animal control.
We do, and our officers are also asking for that because they have to, if there's a rabid dog or something, they have to shoot that. That's a huge liability for us. And it's not fair to they're animal lovers.
But one reason when I moved here, I could have lived anywhere. I chose to live in a city because I wanted a higher level of service.
Right.
I wanted a fire hydrant in my yard, and I have one. I wanted to be right down from the police department. I wanted those services, and we have to pay for it. That's just the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Harper, what's your feeling on the chipping situation?
Well, you're talking to a burner here.
Right.
You know, I have 4.5 acres, and there is no way I'm gonna haul limbs from the back of my property to the front for y'all to pick it up.
Right.
I swear sometimes y'all probably think Baldwin's on fire, because I am burning. And yes, and I understand, but
And you do get a permit?
you don't have to have a permit anymore. The legislature passed that a couple of years ago. If it's a hand-piled, vegetation, you don't have to have a permit.
As long as it's not machine stacked.
As long as it's
Everything now.
I will say, before that legislation, she would call us every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
We're on
would.
board.
I would.
That way we knew if something got out of hand, where she was
Right.
and where it's coming from.
Well, and my
Yeah.
neighbors would call too and say, oh my God, our house is on fire. But, and I love my neighbors, don't get me wrong, and I'm glad that they're looking out for this little old lady. But, you know, now I don't have to call, you know,
Yeah.
so,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thanks.
Is there anybody else in the gallery who has business with the city? Come forward, state your name and address.
What else have you done away with? I just heard about the brush through a citizen.
Well,
Are they a list?
the chipping services, animal control, cleanup week, we are moving the 2 utility billing clerks from City Hall to Public Works. So if you wanna pay your water bill, you can go to Public Works now and pay it there.
Not
We
now,
will-
not yet.
Not, well, eventually that'll happen. We'll still have the drop box though at City Hall for after hours, if you wanna drop there, we'll make sure that's picked up. We cut the number of council meetings, we'll have 1 meeting a month, well, we'll have a work session immediately followed by a council meeting on 1 evening, so no more 3 meetings. The concern we have with that is that it slows down folks who are coming in for annexation, for, you know, business with the city. It's gonna slow it down considerably. We cut the cost of living increase for all employees across the board. We cut positions, we froze unfilled lines for both full and part-time. Did I miss anything?
Are you selling the old Habersham Bank building and the property by the Shell station, what used to be Shell, and the Dairy Queen? I just thought
That,
they could build somebody could buy that and build something.
that has been discussed.
Yes, that has been
That has
discussed.
been discussed, and
If the offices are moving to the new location, what's gonna be in the old bank building?
Well,
right now, we're still there, but the other parcel that could be for sale is the old Public Works site on Willingham.
You know, I thought where the sign is, that would be, you know, there by the gas station, that would be a valuable
It is.
commercial property.
it's a prime commercial property, and that was the thought of council. It's actually been 2 years we've been discussing that. The value of that land, because as it sits, it's not taxable. We're just sitting up there, you know, doing things. But what it could be is valuable commercial property that's paying taxes, bring in jobs and bring more money to the city. So thank you for that suggestion, because yes, we're on that.
And then there'll be no animal control,
That's right.
Right.
so
Well,
Habersham doesn't cover taxpayers.
okay, we need to move on. We can answer those questions for you after Ms. Satterfield.
We have to treat everyone the same, so Mr. Elam didn't get 5 minutes yet. Sorry.
There was one mail-in comment, and she asked me to read it. Dear Mayor Almaño and City Council members, this is from Peggy Fortson of Chandler Heights. This message is to express my support for the budget as currently presented. While my support does not mean I'm without concerns, I believe the overall direction acknowledges the real costs of maintaining a well-functioning town. That said, I do understand the concerns of those on fixed incomes and recognize that any increase in cost can be a significant burden. These residents deserve our consideration as we move forward. Personally, I'm disappointed to see the chipping services and cleanup week removed from the budget, as these have long been greatly appreciated by me and many in the community. I hope alternative options or future reinstatement will be considered. I strongly support maintaining and strengthening our police and fire services. As a resident, I believe that one of the most fundamental expectations we all share is the ability to count on rapid response in times of emergency. Local presence not only ensures faster response times, but also fosters familiarity with our neighborhoods and a stronger connection within our community. In addition, I want to express my support for robust code enforcement. Proactive and consistent enforcement helps with property values, reduce hazards, and ensures that our neighborhoods remain clean, orderly, and welcoming. Lastly, I believe that quality services require quality staff. Good employees are worth investing in, and I support fair and consistent pay practices across departments. Treating our employees equitably is not only the right thing to do, but also how we retain talent and ensure continuity in the services we expect and deserve. Thank you for your time, service, and the difficult decisions you are tasked with making on behalf of our city. Respectfully, Peggy Poison, Baldwin resident.
Thank you, her. Thank you, her.
Okay, that concludes the public comments. Next item on the agenda is public hearings. Jack, are you going to read that one?
Good evening. This is a public hearing on the Briceno's zoning change ordinance. Mayor, did you want to give just a brief introduction to the crowd on what exactly we're talking about, and then I'll open the public hearing?
Go ahead.
Okay, this is a public hearing on a zoning change. This is basically a parcel where folks have their home, but it's actually zoned highway business, so they're trying to get it zoned correctly as residential. There were some issues with them not having a survey. They've gotten a survey now. It's included in the resolution, so we don't need to impose any conditions on the rezoning. So with that, we can open the public hearing to anyone who would like to speak in favor of the proposed zoning change. Not hearing any, we can open public hearing to anybody who would like to speak in opposition to the zoning change. And not hearing any, we'll leave the public hearing open in case somebody decides they want to comment. If you do, you can just come over and get my attention, and we'll make sure you can speak. With that, we can continue moving down the agenda, and I'll come back and we can
And
revisit
we
the
had this
public hearing.
public hearing once already, but there was a question on placement of the sign, so we're doing it again.
Correct.
Just to cover anybody who may have had a concern from the placement of the sign.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is reports, municipal court, Ms. Susan Newsom, clerk of court.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
It's my turn again to present my report for court. And it seems like I say the same thing every time, but again, I will say that not a lot changes with court from month to month or even year to year. We're still working hard to find answers to some of the same questions. We do now have a licensed Spanish interpreter,
Great.
but only for our Tuesday court. We are working, hopefully, ideally, we will have one for both courts, but for right now, we do have for just the Tuesday court, which it does create a little bit of issues on the Wednesday court because we don't necessarily know that the person's going to need an interpreter until they get here. And then when they get here, it's a little hard to communicate to them that we're going to have to reset them because we don't understand them and they don't understand us. Right now, I do have Jessica most of the time with me. That helps because she does speak Spanish. But if she can't be with me, then sometimes it's a little difficult with that. So hopefully, sooner or later, we could have the interpreter to be in both courts. But since he is also the interpreter for Habersham County, then he is very covered up. He's got a lot of courts that he does. But he's really good. So that is a goal for the court to see if we can get another one, whether we try to send someone ourselves like we had talked about before, or whether we just find someone that's already licensed and can do that. So then we're still working to create an effective court security sign-up procedure so that we can make sure that we encourage our officers to go ahead and sign up and be ready for each court session. That includes the need to have officers ready to be able to transport the inmates if we have inmates for our
court because we only have court once a month. So if we have somebody in there and yet we have nobody to transport, we can't leave them for another whole month, sitting there waiting for us to be able to transport. So that's another thing we're working on. So that's another goal for the court, is to make sure that we get that a nice, smooth way to make sure everybody is on board with the same thoughts. I'm also constantly, always looking for ways to improve the court policies and procedures. And one thing that is very new and exciting right now is my court software is about to roll out a completely new platform. And I was signed up to be able to take a webinar this past Tuesday, but we had people come in that needed something, so I had to miss that. But hopefully they'll have another one pretty soon, and I can find out all the goodies that we're fixing to get to have. It should cut down a lot of my time, they said, be more efficient for in a lot of different ways. So I'm excited about that. The issues that we're still facing, of course, is lack of space in court. It's the same thing. It's just same thing, same position we were in, but with another year's worth of information to try to store somewhere. But as I stated previously, my report's generally always the same. That's pretty much the same thing y'all hear from me every time. Not a whole lot has changed, but if there's any questions or anything that y'all want to know, just let me know if I can.
When you talk about space that you need in court, is that for the records that you keep, or
Yes.
is that the actual physical space here?
Well, in here right now, we're fine. With the two different courts, we are able to accommodate people fine so far right now. If we get a lot larger, we might have to look into a third court, not only for the space in here, but for parking. Because we have people that's parking over here and having to walk across and to try to get here. So that's another issue we would have if we get a lot more people coming. So a third court would probably be something that we would have to look into. But the main thing is I need storage for all the records. And then if I was to have an assistant that was here more often, I would actually need some more room because we have to pause and try to get past each other to even do our work in there. It's like, Jessica, I need over there. Can I get over there? And so that does create a little bit of a distraction trying to get your work done. But then there's a lot of days I really need her here. So if we sooner or later, I know it'll get addressed as time passes. It will sooner or later get around to that being addressed. But that's just things I do put in there so that we can always keep that thought process going. So.
Can you also talk about the certified interpreter that you just mentioned? We have an audience here. We have talked about unfunded mandates that are affecting this budget.
Right.
And can you just remind people why we need a certified interpreter?
It is a new law in Georgia. It's, I guess, a year old, a little over a year old. I didn't find out till it was already past time. You find out when you go to class. They don't just automatically send you out all this information. But we did find out that we needed a certified interpreter, licensed interpreter is what they're calling them now. So they give you a certain amount of time to do that, but they don't give you any type of funding to do that with. So we go from paying a certain amount to, oh my goodness, a lot more amount. So anybody that's licensed can pretty much set their own price, whatever they want to set, because we have to have them. Luckily, we got somebody that was middle of the road. He wasn't as expensive as who I had talked to before, but he's also not the same price as we had previously. But he's really good. He comes in, he's very professional, does a very good job. And so, but unfortunately he can't do our Wednesday court because he has state court on Wednesday court. So we're still looking to see if we can get somebody that could come in and do that, but we just haven't found anyone yet. So
how does somebody become a licensed interpreter?
Do what?
How does somebody become a licensed
There are
interpreter?
classes, but so far they're very hard to get enrolled in. From what I've still got Jessica looking. She's logged in and she looks from time to time to see if there's anything, because if we could find somebody willing to do it, it might be worth our while to help to promote them to go. But so far we've not really found any openings, and other courts have told me the same thing. I don't know if you're finding the same issue. Yeah. So if they're going to tell us we have to do this, I would really appreciate the way to at least get somebody trained.
Right.
But,
Or some
you know,
help with the funding of the position as well.
right, they just say, you gotta do this, and then we get to figure out how.
That's some of the unfunded mandates that you guys may or may not have heard us talk about. If the state is like, hey, you gotta do this and figure out how to pay for it, sorry, your problem.
And that's
So then
exactly.
we have to come to you guys with hat in hand and, yeah.
That was exactly the words that they gave to me in my class when I said, so
Uh-huh.
we are a small city, how do we do this? Maybe you shouldn't be a court, maybe you shouldn't be a city.
That's what.
That was what they told me. And I cried. I sat in.
I bet you did.
I did. I sat in my
Susan,
class
you do
and cried.
such a wonderful job.
And so.
Aw, that's
But
so
yeah,
sweet.
that,
Thing.
it just.
Just invite me next time.
Oh, God.
I got some words for him. That's okay. I'll stop.
But is there any more questions?
Thank you, Susan, for all you do.
Thank you.
Yes,
You're welcome.
very much.
Okay, we still have the hearing open
That's
for a
correct.
few more minutes, okay. First item under old business is consideration approval of second reading of Oak Terrace variance, ordinance number 2025-05162Z. Ms. Whitmaster?
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so this has come before the council for the past couple of meetings. At the last meeting, we had to pivot due to lack of an affirmative vote. However, in between that time and today, they did get confirmation back from the EPD about the master meter. They did inform them that they would approve a master meter, but only if they had an HOA in place. And the developers do not want to move forward with an HOA. So they have requested to abandon this request, to withdraw this request, and they will be moving that water line into the 10-foot utility easement as designed on the plans.
Great.
We're still on the.
We are.
The next item on the agenda then, we will skip number 2 for number 3, consideration approval of second reading of new council meeting schedule ordinance number 2025-06164.
This is one of the amendments or reductions we made to this forthcoming budget, reducing the number of council meetings that we have, and also reducing the number of days that we are meeting. So the work session and the meeting for the month will happen on the same day. That allows city staff and those who are preparing for the meetings to not incur any additional fees. While we are salaried, there are other personnel who are not, that at some point in time have to attend. So the 6 meetings that will remain for the year are July 8th, August 5th, September 9th, October 7th, November 3rd, and December 9th. The ordinance before you, we had the first reading on June 9th. So tonight would be the second reading to approve the home rule amendment to our charter to allow for that meeting, for the work session and that meeting to happen on the first Tuesday of the month, the first Tuesday of the full week of the month, to begin at 6 p.m. with the work session and the council meeting immediately following.
And how much did this saved us a whopping, like, how much?
A little over 10,000.
I don't know why I thought it was, I'm thinking of individual, okay. But see, we took a pay cut too. But, true, that's true, that's true. Thank you.
Everybody's had time to look at this?
Mhm.
Okay, I will read the bold section of the ordinance, in ordinance number 2025-06164, an ordinance to amend the city charter of the city of Baldwin, Georgia, to establish that the city council shall hold 1 regular business meeting and 1 work session each month on the first Tuesday of the first full week of the month, to provide that additional work sessions of the city council at which official business or policy of the city is to be discussed or presented may be called each month by the mayor or by any 2 members of the city council, to provide a procedure for the calling of a special meeting of the city council and the notice that must be given regarding said special meeting, to repeal conflicting provisions of the charter and for other purposes. And I have a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 2025-06164 as presented.
So moved. She got it first.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilwoman Lehman. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Councilwoman Venter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, new business. Consideration approval of the FY 2026 budget adoption resolution.
Mayor. I'm sorry. You know what? Yes. Would it be okay if I read my statement prior to our vote?
Well, can I explain
Yes,
the
sure,
budget? And then,
something to
okay.
say as well.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, so from the last meeting to this meeting, I did consult with our chief of police, and there are 2 positions that we are going to move to salaried positions. So it eliminates that overtime component as well as it fixes their personal leave it's built into their salary the same way that we've done all of our other salaried employees, so that is no longer a separate line item or an accrual. It is just built in to their salary, and that reduced that $434,000 deficit by $5,551.97. So it brings that deficit down to $429,000. However, because this is the hearing or the meeting requiring adoption, that $429,000 is in the property tax current year line item on the first page of your revenue. So the total, and the other thing that I did that looks slightly different than the one before is the personal property tax has always been calculated separately, but it's never taken separately in our system. So whenever you're looking at your R&E statement, there's always a 0, even though it looks like there's a budget there and that money is in the personal, or it's in the property tax for the current year. So that total balance is just in there. It is property tax. If you want a breakdown of personal property versus real property, we can do that. The payment just isn't taken separately in that manner. So that total balance is both personal property and real property. It's just in the line item issue. There was no changes made to the enterprise fund budget.
So what page do we see the new amount on?
Well, the new amount is 0. It's on page
I'm sorry,
10. But if you're referring to the revenue, it's the
Yes.
first page of the budget. So we go from $1.1 million in tax collections to 1.67.
And that's the only change. Okay, thank you, Ms. Woodmaster. I know there are some council members who wanted to address the gallery and folks who are listening. I know I have something to say, so do you? Sure. Were you wanting to make remarks? No, okay. Tonight we're voting on the FY 2026 budget. This budget reflects years-long work supporting the city's mission to offer proximal, and substantial services to its residents, and at the same time honoring the vision that Baldwin will be a great place to live, work, and play. In the 6 years I've been on council, I've been part of the teams who've worked diligently to bring Baldwin into the 21st century. This work was accomplished by many staff members, council members, some of whom sit here tonight, and others who came before us. And these folks always looked forward to build a city that would serve future generations. We've come a long way. We spent a long time fixing problems, guiding a PD that shifted to daytime only and back to 24 hours, replacing outdated infrastructure to support a growing city, enhancing the workplace environment to maintain and court the best employees who do the citizens' work, ensuring safety and code compliance for our residents, and keeping up to date with emerging technologies to work smarter, more efficiently, and to avoid cyber threats to our infrastructure. Here's something that we haven't talked about a lot, but we need to address. We continually search for new revenue streams. Rev Solutions, a wastewater treatment company, rents land from the city. Precision Digital, a data mining business, will pay franchise fees for their electricity usage. Liquor licenses will have brought in new businesses and new tax dollars. We've updated our sales agreements with Demrest and Fieldale for water and sewer use respectively. We have addressed potentially selling prime real estate owned by the city currently generating no tax revenue that would attract businesses that do pay taxes. Assist new businesses to open. We have a new Shell station and we have a future Waffle House coming on 365. Just two examples of new businesses. Our city has never been stagnant. Each council and department has looked to the future, looking for innovation and strategic ways to ensure the viability of Baldwin. Tonight's no exception. Since May, we've attempted to balance the good work that the city has done in creating a sustainable and relevant city with the economic realities of this particular moment. Cut services as you asked us to do. This includes chipping, animal control, cleanup, weed, moving utility billing to the new public works building, cutting the number of council meetings, cutting COLA for all employees. We did cut employees and unfilled lines, both full and part-time positions. We can't cut our way to sustainability. The city must solicit new businesses, maintain the ones it has, invest in infrastructure, and search for ways to make Baldwin a vibrant location to draw people in. Tonight's vote is difficult, but it maintains those proximal services we all need in case of emergency. It maintains training budgets that are an investment in limiting liability, risk management. We just heard Susan talk about training and keeping her up to date on new laws that have been imposed. It keeps us on a path of eligibility for state and federal money to support and enhance our infrastructure. It helps us make investments that draw new businesses to Baldwin that can help to offset property taxes. Look, I love this little town. I think it's a magical little place, and we always find a way forward. Councilwoman.
Mine's a little longer, I'm sorry. But I'll just start. Councils and elected boards face challenges most people never see. We don't come into this already knowing how to make the sausage. We learn it the hard way with bumps, bruises, and plenty of trial by fire. And just when we think we've got it figured out, something reminds us we don't know diddly squat. That's the job. Learn, recover, move forward. Just as one of our residents said. But let's be clear, we're not up here lining our pockets or scheming to screw taxpayers. We're your neighbors, your coworkers, your fellow taxpayers. The decisions that we make affect us too. Over the past 8 years, I've watched good people, both elected and not, work to pull Baldwin out of the shadows of its past. Can I ask, really quick, anyone, the folks that are employed with the city, can you all raise your hand or stand up? One or the other, all our firefighters? Okay, so over the past 8 years, thank you, yes, please, you all stand up. I want these fine folks to see you. Look around you at the faces that serve you. These are people that, maybe not for the first time, but for sure in a long time, that are proud to serve you, happy to serve you, like warm, fuzzy, work themselves half to death. And if you all also please stand, because I'm talking about you too. Yes, you need to be celebrated, okay? Happy, warm, fuzzy, work themselves half to death, kind of happy to serve you. And it worked, not by accident, but because of the vision and the sweat of people like former Mayor Elam, former Councilman Ayers and Llewellyn, myself, Councilman Venter, Mayor Almano, Chief Jones, Chief Roy, Mr. Barnhart, and Ms. Woodmaster. We wanted a new day in Baldwin. And if your feet hurting, you can sit back down. I just wanted folks to be able to see who you are. What starting a new day in Baldwin looked like, however, behind the scenes where the sausage is made, was going from crisis to crisis, putting out fires, tending to emergencies, and that also meant dumping a bunch of tremendous responsibilities on a city clerk that didn't ask for that. In 2020, Ms. Woodmaster very suddenly became the city manager, city clerk, utility billing supervisor, planning and development, strategic planner, and finance director. And there's more, all at once. There was not one complaint. Instead, that clerk took the bull by the horns and held the city together while putting herself through the necessary training to make it work. Amidst all of the aforementioned chaos, that clerk still managed to plan events that brought happiness, joy, a sense of place for the community. She built relationships with other cities and the counties, both of them. She managed multiple department heads while forging good relationships among them, even while they struggled with their own interdepartmental changes. As if this isn't more than most of us can whistle out on a good day, we laid the additional responsibility of finance on that clerk, all while on a clerk salary. But we were penny wise and pound foolish. We knew we needed a finance person, and we kicked that can down the road for 3 years, and now we don't like what we see on the financial reports, myself included. But we were warned this would happen. She said it's unsustainable. No one acted out of malice, no one stole anything, no one sat around doing nothing. We all did the best we could do with the information and the experience that we had. Can we do better? Always. Are we perfect? Last time I checked, there was only one perfect person that ever walked this earth. Yes, the communication gaps have caused tension. I'll own my part in that, and I hope others can as well. And yet, I am encouraged. People are showing up. 12 people came to Baldwin's comprehensive plan meeting last week. That's fantastic. Some of our toughest critics are rolling up their sleeves and getting involved. That's how real change happens. I couldn't be more excited that our neighbors get to see how the sausage is made and help direct the next 5 years of Baldwin. Their input and accountability to that planning is the plan forward. Now I'm calling myself out here. It's easy to get bogged down in the weeds and swept up in the whole "it's a new day in Baldwin" and forget my actual purpose and responsibility to the people. I lost my place, I'm sorry. To the people, especially when you have the most amazing people that serve this city, that serve all of you. It's really, all you want to do is fight for them. Because you know, when you're back there making the sausage, what they actually do. So, but our jobs are creating and enacting policy, upholding and following the constitutions of Georgia and the United States, being good stewards of the people's money and their stuff, and protecting the people's interests. Balancing what we know is needed to provide the services that people expect with what the people can afford to pay is exceptional. It's exceptionally exhausting, exceptionally heart-wrenching, exceptionally scary, exceptionally challenging, and when we get it right, exceptionally rewarding. I see the strain on the people every day in my real estate career. Insurance is inflated, home values are inflated, medical and prescription costs are inflated, cost to provide services, as you can see, is inflated. We are all just trying to survive here. And trust me, I see you. I regret that it seems that your elected people aren't thinking about you. I'll own that. And I promise that's not true. We are all on the struggle bus with you, trying to make it happen. And since we're all in this together, can I ask for partnerships instead of pitchforks, please? Our comp meeting was full of excellent, get-her-done energy. Good energy begets good energy, but the inverse is also true. We have to pass a budget before July 1st or the city shuts down. I explored continuing resolutions, the possibility of a continuing resolution, but on advice from our auditor, our Georgia Municipal Association representative, and our legal counsel, it's risky. Grants, which we're actively pursuing, bonds and creditworthiness could be on the line. So we pass now and amend later as we continue to tighten things up. And we've already made tough cuts, including valued employees. But look at what your civic engagement has done. Change doesn't come from complacency. It comes from informing yourself and speaking up. And yes, sometimes a little drama. You have my commitment to continue looking at ways to cut through some things that are on my radar, making appropriate adjustments when the county digest is finally released, making opportunities to slim down our vehicle lease program. I've been in contact with Enterprise, bidding out insurance policies and exploring possibilities of alternatives that may be better benefits for less money. Thank you for hitting that thing. I've been like dying. I wanted to poor Mayor, thanks for yeah. See, look how hard our GCIC department works for us. Thank you. Exploring possibilities of alternatives that may be better benefits for less money, opportunities for partnerships with other governments to maintain or improve services while reducing or being more efficient in costs. Let me be very clear, this is going to weigh very heavily on the public because there are other opportunities. However, ultimately those decisions need to be left up to the public because encourage better communication with each other and with the public. Explore the addition of a finance professional that can lift the financial and HR responsibilities off of the CAO's shoulders. This is important since it is simply irresponsible to put that amount of responsibility on one person. And it is our responsibility to build back the cash on hand that we have dipped into to make ends meet, continue to look under every rock and find opportunities to be more efficient without destroying the morale of the people who are paid to serve you. That's incredibly important. To not destroy their morale. Lest we fall back into the negative second chance days of the past that got us here in the first place.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Anything else? All right. The next item on this item on the agenda is the budget adoption resolution number 2025-06165R. A resolution by the City Council of the City of Baldwin, Georgia, to adopt a budget for the general operating fund and the enterprise fund for the city for the calendar year 2026 and for the fiscal year of 2025-2026. To adopt the budgets attached to the resolution and incorporated by reference hereof into this resolution with said budget for the general fund and the enterprise fund indicating the sum of estimated revenues, as well as the sum of expected expenditures to provide for a balanced budget for the 2026 fiscal year, to provide that nothing contained within this budget resolution, as well as the attached proposed budget, shall preclude the City Council of the City of Baldwin from amending its budget during the 2026 fiscal year so as to adapt to changing governmental needs during the budget period and for other purposes. And I have a motion to approve resolution number 2025-0616R as presented.
So
I have a motion from Councilwoman Bender. Do I have a second? I have a second from Councilman Keith. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Samuels, do you want to?
We can go ahead and close the public hearing and address the zoning change ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Moving back to old business number, item number 2 on our agenda. Consideration approval of second reading of Presento zoning, change ordinance number 2025-05163Z. Can I have a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance, and I need to find it.
This is a big one.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 2025, oh, I need to read it, sorry. An ordinance number 2025-05163Z. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of Baldwin, Georgia by zoning all those tracts or parcels of land owned by Rogelio A. Brasino Castro and being 0.35 acres more or less, being tax map parcel 091B025 and lying and being in land lot 184 of the 10th Land District of Habersham County, Georgia, and being more particularly described on a deed or plat which is attached hereto and which is incorporated by reference into this ordinance from highway business HB to residential single-family district R1 without conditions, repealing conflicting ordinances, to provide for severability, to provide for an effective date, and for other purposes. Can I have a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 2025-05163Z as presented?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion from Councilman Keith. Do I have a second? I have a second from Councilwoman Davis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. All right, going back to new business, consideration approval of E911 radios purchase.
It's been a long time coming.
Yes.
Yes.
They are hopeful, Habersham County is hopeful to have the radio system up and running this fall. Part of that requires that we purchase our radios and sign an intergovernmental agreement, which is in your packet tonight. I'm not looking for consideration tonight as the county has not adopted this yet, and they're still looking at a couple of the exhibits that are called out in the IGA. But I did want you to consider where this funding will be coming from, so that it is on your radar when it comes back, that this discussion did happen. We have gone back and forth with the county on how many radios we need, because we have the in-car radios, but then also the radios that they wear. And in total, for both our police and fire department, the city will require 48 radios, and then the anticipated cost right now for that radio is a fixed cost unless we change the number of radios. However, I will say that the county has already purchased our radios, but it could change year to year. But the fixed cost for that and the establishing of the system within our jurisdiction is $244,021.98. Originally, we had anticipated using the ARPA funds for that back in 2021. However, we could not come to an agreement in the fall, leading into December of last year. And with those funds, we were required by federal law to have those funds obligated via contract, purchase order, or something to that effect for any projects that was to be completed with ARPA funding, and we could not get that agreement in place. So we had to reallocate those funds from ARPA to other projects throughout the city that were adopted last year. And the recommendation now is actually the original recommendation, which was to use SLOSS 7 from Habersham County to fund those radios.
Can I translate just for the public for just a second? Because I think sometimes government's super duper boring, and this is really important. I saw you laugh, Andre. It is, it's boring so people don't pay attention, but I just wanna grab your attention for this moment to point out that, because this was a significant thing in our budget, is that now we're having to pay for it this way, where originally, originally it was floss, we had to figure it out, right? It was gonna happen whether we wanted it to or not, the decision was made for us. But then we were like, ooh, we're getting ARPA money, so we don't have to use these other funds, which get used for other things. But then, with all the, that's a cuss word, I was gonna say that, with dragging of feet on Habersham County side, unfortunately, that deadline came up where we had to get the ARPA money spent, or God forbid, give it back to the federal government. We did not want to give them back their money because we wanted it. So we reached out to the county and asked, hey, can we create a purchase order or something like that so that we can make this legit and still keep the ARPA funds for this? And they were, oh, gee, I don't know. And so we waited around for them to come back and tell us that. Meanwhile, they went and did that with other cities. So those cities got to spend their ARPA funds on the radio, and now Baldwin has to spend SPLOST dollars. So thank you very much. I'm coming down Habersham County right now, because that's really frustrating. So anyway, I just wanted to translate that, but thank you for being more professional than you.
This is, one of the items in your budget is the maintenance cost for these radios. That was challenged a lot, when the county decided to go to this new program. And, however, all of the cities need E911 radios.
Right.
And we even considered partnering with Cornelia in the early days of this agreement, or this arrangement, to see if we could form our own E911 center. It's not feasible for a small city or even shared cities to have that, which is why most counties have an E911 service. So we have a maintenance fee for that radio. If it goes out, if something happens to it, there's somebody who can fix the radio or replace it in this program. But that is to the tune of $25,000 per department. Now that cost will change annually. So we have the fixed cost up front. The cost of the radio is the cost of the radio is the cost of the radio for the 15-year agreement that they have. However, the maintenance fee will change based on the number of users in the system and if there's a shared service. So the way that these towers work, other counties can actually join on and reduce our regular maintenance payment per device. So as of right now, when this first started, the maintenance fee I think was $725 or $727, somewhere in there. It's at $863.
Yeah, but that was 7 years ago.
Right, but the number of fluctuation in how many radios we need, if the school board is going to join, and so there's a lot of ebbs and flows in that number. But as of right now, the number is $863, which is what's built into our budget. Every year, that number will be reevaluated and put into a cost spreadsheet from Habersham County and disseminated to the city so that they know what that cost is going to be leading into their next budget cycle. So that this number will change, and it is absolutely dependent on the number of radios that exist on this system. So this fixed cost, though, this $244,000, is just to get us started. If we add additional personnel, those radios will have to be purchased at that time and added to our system. And once they're in our system, you can't just get them back. So they're in the system and they can be reutilized if we reduce them.
Okay.
Okay, so you said this evening, no vote, this was informational?
No, this is information. We're waiting for the county to finish their exhibit and adopt it. Once they adopt the IGA, we will vote.
Okay, and yes, I know, right? The next item is Everbridge. Consideration approval of Everbridge startup.
Yes. So, a couple of months ago, City Council approved for us to engage with Everbridge to have what is formally or affectionately called Nixle. It is a customer notification system that will let us communicate with the public when there is a water leak, which
notices and.
If there's a
yeah.
road closure, if
Yeah.
there is a public safety incident or something to that effect, we can notify the public
Yeah.
with this software. This was approved a couple of meetings, or a couple of months ago. However, we're ready to establish it. We want it to go live July 1.
Yeah.
But we do have to pay for it. And the agreement in the initial conversation when we adopted this was it was going to go on everyone's water bill, but anyone would have access to it, like the users of the water, or whoever receives a bill, a utility bill from the city, would pay a monthly fee. That fee is, when we first talked about it, it was 22 cents. It'll actually look more like, 25 cents. It'll actually look more like 22 cents per month. However, we do have to pay for the fee this year. So the request tonight is to have a one-time fee on all utility bills of $3 to cover this cost, and then the forward every month, that user fee will be 25 cents.
Yeah.
22 cents.
22 cents.
It was 25 in my head for a long time. It's 22.
So the $3 is,
It would be a one-time fee, and it would pay for this year's service. And then the 25 cents that we would be collecting for the next 12 months would pay the next year's service.
I see, okay, I gotcha.
and so do people opt in to the service, or how does that work?
The fee will go on every bill.
Right.
But you can opt into the service to whatever you feel the most comfortable with. So some people don't want a text. They may want a phone call, and you can do that. Some people might want an email,
Right.
and you can do that as well. There's an app for you to like log in. I think the county Habersham County, I don't know if Banks County does, but Habersham County has Code Red.
Yes. Yeah.
Very similar to that. So if there's a notification, it would pop up on your phone that something has happened. Facebook also implemented recently a public safety tag. And so anyone who follows the city account will get a notification that we've posted a public safety interaction. So I don't know if anyone got that notification today, but that is when the boil water notice went out, that notification happened for the first time.
There were comments on our Facebook page for
They want
this current
those.
outlet. Yeah, and they were like, can't they get something? I was like, yeah, you know what, actually, we're gonna make that happen tonight. They were like, really? Yeah, so that's good.
So how are we letting people know about this?
It'll be on the bill, but also so will that fee. So we'll have a Facebook post, we'll make sure to have it, like a sign when people are paying their water bill, inside City Hall, outside City Hall. And then we do have some people who are on an email chain, like our businesses, so we can notify them that way. But it'll be on our Facebook page as well, and our website, of course.
Thanks. That's great. Man, this is gonna be good. Yeah.
So the request tonight is to add that $3 fee, one time on the bill, and then it will move to a 22-cent fee monthly.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. Can I have a motion to approve expensing the Everbridge startup fee as presented? I have a motion from Councilwoman Lehman, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilwoman Davis, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Number 8, on the agenda, consideration of.
Is that number 7?
Seven, sorry. It's a long night. Consideration approval of updated council meeting procedure.
I'll run through this as quickly as I can. Most of these changes are due to the fact that we are changing our meeting date.
Yes.
So those first couple ones, you'll see the regular meeting and work session. It is just to clarify when those meetings will be taking place. That is on page 41 of your packet. Page 42 and 47 is just cleaning up some language, just taking out those rules as follows. It was unnecessary. And then on page 43 is the agenda. We added to the last sentence, unless the item is time sensitive or an emergency. So this is to ensure that things that are requested to be put on the agenda happen before the meeting, unless there is an emergency, which sometimes happens because we run a water and wastewater system.
Yep.
And then the official order of business, the agenda for the work session is as follows. Same thing for the city council meeting. The only change added to the city council or the council meeting portion is number 10 for announcements. Announcements may be given prior to executive session if chosen to do so by the chair or the mayor. On page 44, discussion and calling for a vote. Again, cleaning up some language, but we did add on that fourth bullet point, responsibilities of opening and closing and keeping time for public hearings may be deferred to legal counsel, the chief administrative officer, or the city clerk, just to clarify in the event that the mayor delegates that responsibility, that is who they delegate to. Bullet point number 5, it is just the chair may call for a vote to explicitly deny the request of the failed motion if council has no desire for the item to be tabled for the next regular scheduled meeting. So again, just clarifying what the intent is there. The one right beneath it is again to clarify the moderating the discussion. So to table an item for the next regular scheduled meeting or postpone either indefinitely or to a specified future date. So this is just cleaning up and making clear what the procedure is when a vote comes forward, or we do not want to make a decision, or we don't want to make a decision at this time. And then, again, on page 45, cleaning up some language, we added but effective pace to the presiding officer paragraph, added the acronym for chief administrative officer, and then page 46 for public participation, we cleaned up or really clarified who's allowed to speak in the meeting during public comment, and that is right there in the middle of the paragraph. It says, for that reason, the agenda at regular city council meetings includes time for comments from Baldwin citizens, business owners, and other stakeholders who have business with the city. It has been our procedure or our regular practice to say that anyway, so we put it into the rules. And then the last sentence is all comments, concerns, or complaints should be directed toward the mayor and city council, not toward members of staff or other representatives of the city. They are here to speak with you as their elected officials. The rules of procedure for the Baldwin City Council meetings, again, some cleanup there. All council members, regardless of post or experience, are equal and have equal rights to attend meetings, make motions, debate, and vote. And then bullet point number 4, any personal, derogatory, and inflammatory remarks are always out of order. Debates must be directed to motions and principles, not motives and personalities. It is the responsibility of the chair to note any out of order actions or statements and to redirect the meeting back to the item at hand. In the event that the chair is unable to restore order to the meeting, they have the right to call for a recess or to adjourn the meeting without calling for a vote. This doesn't often happen. I don't know that it's ever happened as long as we've been here, but it does need to be in there in the event that something like that did happen. And then on page 47, the second to last bullet point says to table a motion, which we always have fun with. There's always a, which way do we say this?
Yeah.
To table a motion or item is to delay instead of postpone. Delay the motion temporarily until later in the meeting or to the next regularly scheduled meeting, allowing for more information to be gathered. The question may be brought up again later or at another meeting. To postpone a motion or delay a motion to postpone a motion or item is to delay the motion indefinitely or to a specified future meeting. Again, just cleaning up what language we're choosing to use when we're delaying a decision. Those are the changes. If you would like to sit with them for a while, you're welcome to do that, or you can vote on these tonight. We amended them in July of last year.
A lot has happened since then. I'm sorry. Okay. That's a possibility, as a matter of fact. I mean, that's why.
Do you want to wait on the vote, or do you want to
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's fine.
Can I have a motion to approve the updated council meeting procedures effective July 1, 2025 as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Davis. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second from Councilwoman Lehman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Oh, did you vote?
I did.
You did, okay.
I was like.
Okay, the next item is the one that was added to the agenda, conversation with Banks County concerning water. Gentlemen?
How are you?
Good, if you wanna come forward, tell us your names, your positions with the city. Would be helpful.
County.
Yeah.
County, sorry.
Big boy.
I'm Chris Osborne. I am a
commissioner in Banks County, and this is our new water
Public utilities.
public utilities director.
Chad Wilbur.
Chad Wilbur. All right, I guess where to start. This has been a long meeting, and I about forgot what we were doing. There's so much here. We both have issues. There's no question there. We need water. You may or may not have some water. You guys could possibly benefit from an interconnect with Banks County in ways such as relieving some of the strain on your pipes going down Baldwin Mountain, and maybe that would eliminate some of the breaks in the future. And a lot of grant funding is hard to get if you don't have interconnects, and this could potentially help you. And another thing here that I noticed tonight, might not hurt to have some revenue coming in. This could help in many ways. So if we don't get in a room together and try to work these issues out, we'll never make any progress. I think there's been some conversation about it. It's time for us to try to put the wheels in motion, because the Banks County citizens that I heard speak earlier, they're our citizens and they're your water customers. So whatever we can do to help, we're more than willing to do, okay? If there's any way that you could sell us any amount of water, we've got measures in place now to kind of keep us floating along, but we could benefit from that. And just like any business in the world, we'll pay you for that water. We're not asking for anything for free here. We're looking to generate you some revenue and us some water. It is my belief that this will benefit everybody involved. I don't know what your capacity is. I don't want to take away from your capacity for future growth. I know that's something that's important for you, and we're not looking for enough water for us to grow on right now. We're looking for water, to sustain where we're at. We have a plan in place that's a few years down the road with the city of Toccoa to purchase a large amount of water from them per day. We've got to get the infrastructure to us to make this happen. I guess if there's any availability, and I think we're in the same ditch. I think we have water pipes in the same ditch. I don't think we're talking about a large investment whatsoever here. So I see no reason not to do it. And if it doesn't work, we'll stop. This is not a marriage proposal. This is just trying to help both parties here. I don't care if you're a Habersham County resident, a Banks County resident, or where you live. We're in the same book here. We got to get on the same page.
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm at, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this.
Maybe do you mind if you want to go first? You go first.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Alex.
Always got lots to say. So.
Let me get my pen.
So as I understand it, somewhere around 2013 or 2014, the city leadership at that time went to DCA to get a CDBG grant to work on those lines that we've been talking about and are all this trouble. And what DCA said was, you need an interconnect with Banks County to qualify for the grant. So Baldwin's like, okay, let's go down to Banks County and talk to the chairman at the time and see if we can have this interconnect. That guy said, cold day in hell. So that cut that off for us. Well, that guy is no longer the chairman. And I think that it is time to revive that conversation. Way past time to revive that conversation. Ms. Woodmaster, you know this inside and out. How much water are we losing, like, to unaccounted for? 43% water loss. 42%? So that's like a gajillion, 11 million gallons, like, every day. And
So what are we talking on that number? What is that number actually?
Yeah.
The
Like
actual
$1 million?
monthly
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
it's about 10 to 11 million.
Per month?
See, we can turn that into revenue if you
Right.
guys.
Exactly. So we're paying to process the water, which is expensive. You got all the chemicals and things like that in the process. But we're pissing out almost half of it into the ground somewhere. Some of us have different theories, and we do have, some things where we're putting in zone meters and valves to try to figure out, narrow down where these water leaks are. Probably some of that's going down the mountain where we got all that pressure from gravity.
Absolutely.
And that's your citizens and our water customers, but regardless, our jobs are to be good stewards, as I said in my little speech, good stewards of the people's stuff. And so we need to be doing whatever we can to do that. Now, I have reached out to our state representatives several times for help. I realize that they're busy, but it's time, the time is now. So, but we can work on grants if the powers that be like to see partnerships and cooperation between government bodies. They like that, let's write a check. So I'm on it, and I spoke at the Banks County, you guys asked me to come and speak to you last month at your meeting, or was it this month? This month. And the conversation from your chairman was, I think we need to have a joint meeting, so.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and one of the things that we recognize as a city is that it often takes time for some of the players to cycle off the council, some of the roadblocks,
Yeah.
and,
I believe those roadblocks are effectively gone on the
Yes.
Banks County side. So,
That's great, and we met, we've met with citizens have come here to ask for this. And so I think as soon as we can, I mean, now that, after July 1, that we get together with our city engineer, the county engineer for Banks County,
yeah.
and we have a reasonable conversation about what actually we need.
Yeah.
We don't know how much you need to look at our capacity, so.
I mean,
and
at
we don't
this
have to
point,
discuss that now.
at this point, anything, would benefit Banks
yeah.
County. I mean, whatever it is. And the interconnect, if we don't get any water, if it'll help our citizens in your county, if it'll help your system.
Yeah.
Right.
I believe we need to move forward with this, and I think it's time for us to start moving on past the conversation
Yeah.
stage of it and start making the wheels turn.
So I think if Ms. Woodmaster contacts your chairman, and we can put something together with the 2 engineers and representatives from the city and the county, we'll start putting our collective head together. Mr. Hughes, was it Hughes? You said, what is the process and where we are in the process? So you're watching the sausage being made, right?
I'll come to the meeting.
We would love that.
Great.
We would absolutely love that.
Yeah.
And we've got a few other folks who have come to us that, can be part of that.
Yeah.
And we have a water group in
Yeah.
Baldwin where we meet like once a month, once every couple of months for like 4 or 5 hours at a time and talk about water and sewer and capacity and these line issues and water loss. And we do this, but we would love to have this, sidebar with you guys. And look, water is gonna be gold up here. As things are hotter and drier, this is gonna be the lifeline for our cities. We have to have these conversations.
Water is gonna be gold. That's a fact.
Yes.
And I see a disturbing trend here with all communities. We think that growth, industrial growth, and all this growth is great. I can't find a city south of us that has experienced massive growth that's property taxes have came down.
Right.
The industries come in and at some point Carl Vinson came up with this beautiful theory that you had to have a certain amount of industry and you had to have a certain amount of residences.
Yeah.
Well, that worked 20 or 30 years ago until these industries came in and we lost our workforce. We no longer have the workforce. So if we bring in a large industry with a lot of jobs, then we've in turn got to import people in
Right.
here to work these jobs.
Yep.
More people cost more money.
Yeah.
And there's gonna come a time, there's only so much water in the Chattahoochee River Basin. There's only so much water
Yeah.
in the Savannah River Basin.
Right.
So at some point in time, we've gotta grow in the smart direction versus just growing to be growing for the sake of growth.
Right.
Because if we don't, our kids and grandkids won't have any water left to grow from.
Right.
So at some point, we've really got to rein in our thoughts on growth, in my opinion. Now, that's just me talking.
I wholeheartedly agree. So the Savannah River Basin, I was speaking with someone that is with the rivers, like River Watchers
The
or
Watershed
something.
Association?
Said what?
The Watershed Association?
No, it was River
The
Watchers.
River Keeper?
River
River
Keepers,
Keepers.
that was it.
Yeah.
She gave me an hour crash course on what they've got going on with the Savannah River, and they're having to move their water intakes up further and further up the river. It's just really, it's actually not a good situation at all. Baldwin does have Willy Wonka's golden ticket, which is the straw in the Chattahoochee, and we are at the top of the Chattahoochee. The Environmental Protection Division is the one that says to us, you're being bad with the water loss. And I think that with a partnership with you guys is innately going to help fix some of our water loss issues, which opens up capacity, because we're running out of capacity, pissing half of it out. And then we've got, and then, you guys need, it's revenue for us, and it's capacity that we can then pass down to you. If you guys can help us repair our lines, like, I appreciate the partnership with Banks County.
There's also a bigger conversation about water storage.
Yes.
We've talked about reservoirs and things around here.
And that's not, a reservoir is not as easy as you think. You just can't dam up the river or the creek anymore. You've gotta build that thing like Cornelia did and pump the water to it in a lined facility. That one, several years ago, cost $20-something million. I'd say
Right.
that would be $50 million now,
Yeah.
for one for that size. It's just, and you can't just, a lot of people think, well, just tie onto this well. We've got an old chicken farm here that had a really good well on it. Well, that EPD won't let you do that.
Uh-huh.
You've got to have a certain size well, a certain depth well, and it's got to produce so much water. It's just not as easy as you think it is. And I will be honest, some past decisions in Banks County have put us where we're at today.
Yeah.
And growth is not an option for us right
Same
now.
old song and dance.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
just not there.
Mhm.
So I'm not gonna blame anybody, but
Yeah.
we're here to fix the issue,
Yeah.
and we're gonna fix it either way. We're gonna
Yeah.
find a way.
We've
Yes.
said over and over again, when the problems present themselves, we have to fix them. Once we
Yeah.
know about it, we have to fix it. So I think, after July 1, Ms. Woodmaster, if you want to contact the chairman and set
Just wait till after
something
July
up.
4th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've made it this far, let's make it another week.
Yeah.
But, tonight you have the commitment to a meeting, so Mr. Hughes, if you want to be a
Yes.
part of that, we have your contact. If you give your contact information, a phone or an email to our city clerk, to Ms. Radical, that'd be wonderful, and we can put something together, but you have a commitment from us tonight that will begin that conversation.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming, for sitting through the meeting.
Very much so, yes.
Okay, there being nothing else under new business, there's no executive session, we will move on to announcements. Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I just want to take this time to say thank you so much, Emily, for all the work that you've done on this budget. I know these past few months have been hard for us, but especially hard for you. Thank you so much for the long nights that you spent trying to figure it out. I really appreciate all your work. I appreciate you being so professional, because I know in this setting, it has been hard for me just listening, so I couldn't imagine being the person that the comments are directed to. So thank you so much. Thank you for being professional. And thank you for just being a great leader for the city. I appreciate all of the department heads for being patient with us, letting us hash it out. I just want to say thank you. I'm glad that we're moving forward. And I think that what we've done has been the right decision for our citizens. So thank all of you very much.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, moving on to announcements, the Banks County Library On The Go will be set up at the Tap Yard at 110 Airport Road from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. every Friday through the end of July. All residents are welcome to check out or return books. Additionally, those visiting the mobile library with children can receive food bags courtesy of the Food Bank of Northeast Georgia. Item 2, join us for Tharing's Theater at the Tap Yard on June 27th at 8:30 p.m. for a free screening of Wonka. Bring a chair, a blanket, and enjoy a night under the stars with your friends and family. Concessions are available with all proceeds going to Shop with the Hero. Number 3, Highland Point Drive from Dawn Place to Trojan Lane will be closed to through traffic from 6:30/2025 to 7/11/2025 for road repairs. Access will be limited to residents of those roads. Karen?
Just to clarify, that is for the resizing of the manholes to prepare for the paving project.
Yep.
We're not just closing it down, closing it down.
And we notified the residents there.
They're all good.
They're all aware of it? Okay, wonderful. And I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that.
I have a motion from Councilman Keith. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have multiple seconds from Ms. Davis. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll keep.
We're adjourned.
Yes. I keep wanting to, yeah, that's great.
Not tonight.